After playing on controller since Chapter 1, Season 6, I have finally made the decision to play on keyboard and mouse, because I thought this would be the only way I can actually make my first earnings. So this is my 1 week progression on switching to keyboard and mouse. I wasn't that bad on controller. I was actually a decent player. I could do normal mechanics and good edits, and I've actually got some pretty top placements in skin cups and won around 2 skins from skin cups. But I felt on controller that I have reached a plateau and that I would not be able to improve. So that is the reason why I decided to switch to keyboard and mouse. But like before, I have never touched any other video game with a keyboard and mouse in my life. This is the first time I've ever played a video game on keyboard and mouse. So I was starting from complete scratch. But I have made one classic blunder. I did not record anything from day 1 to day 6. So this will be only day 7, and I can explain how good I was on day 1 through 6. Day 1, the first thing I did was figure out my keybinds, what everything does, and how to tilt my keyboard. And I also just played zero build reload for that whole entire day. On day 2, I decided to hop into my first training map, which was Mechanics Training V5, I think. And I worked on classic things, just like building stairs, walls, and double edits, just to get you familiar with my keybinds, even more than I was on day 1. On day 3, I didn't really play that much, but I decided to work on some editing and ways to improve. I've watched a lot of YouTube videos on things I should do to tweak my keybinds to make them better and more optimal. On day 4, that's when I started to have a clear routine. I hopped into a training map, did my aiming first, mechanics next. I went into slow-mo and started building a little bit more on my free builds, and then I went into piece control for a bit. After that, I 1v1'd my coach, Coach Bushy, which has helped me out through the journey a lot, so I will be tagging him down below, and his picture will be popping up right 3, 2, 1. But overall, Bushy is a great guy. He is a Nintendo Switch player on EU, and I'm on NA West. So just to put in mind that he was giving me belt to ass, and he was on a whole nother region on 128 ping. So yes, I am not proud of me losing every single day from day 1 to 7 against playing him. But here we will talk about my first mistake I've made. So I've stuck with the same keybinds on day 1 through 6. And I decided on day 7 I want to switch my keybinds just because I didn't like how they felt anymore. Which was honestly the first mistake and the biggest mistake you could possibly make while switching to a new input. One thing you should never do is switch keybinds. And that is what I did. And I went back to square 1 on day 7. So all the progress I've made on day 1 to 6, I was able to triple edit, double edit. I had pretty good aim. You know, I just changed everything. I said, nope, I don't want it, which is the worst thing you can possibly do. So please, I advise you guys do not do this if you're switching to a new input. The second mistake that I made was not setting goals. Now, I set 0 goals for this shit. I swear, I hopped into this thinking I'd be Peterbot in 1 week. I most definitely wasn't. That was the most unrealistic thing that has came out of my mouth since I was 8 years old. But what setting goals does, it helps you reach a target in the time frame that you want to. For example, in a week, a good goal for me would have been to win my first reload match, which I haven't yet. But that probably would have been the best goal to set. Instead of thinking, okay, let me try playing my first tournament after a week, which I didn't even know tournaments weren't even out until January 5th. So I set not only did I set the most unrealistic goal, I sounded like a complete idiot to myself. So another thing I advise is to make sure to set reasonable and actual goals. But now let's get right into the video. Now, the first thing I did on day 7 was work on my aim because my aim is absolutely dog. But I see here my mouse tracking wasn't even half bad. It was a lot better compared to day 1s through 6, which actually makes me a lot happier with my tracking skills. As soon as I finished my aim training, I hopped right into piece control, but I was lagging balls in this. So obviously my gameplay will not be the greatest here, but I swear I am a lot better than this when I'm not lagging. But after I was done my piece control, I hopped into 1v1s against my teammate. But my teammate, he plays on controller, not a keyboard and mouse, but he was playing on the keyboard and mouse, so I actually hit a little bit of a clip, not really. Like I said, it wasn't really a clip, obviously not. But when I said I was lagging, I was not joking, and you will see very soon. But in the last clip, I have no idea how it says I'm on controller when I haven't touched a controller in the last 6 days. But before I was done playing with Coach Bushy, I asked him to give me a rating on these 6 categories. He was supposed to rate me out of 100% on my aim, mechanics, builds, edits, awareness, and fighting. The rating that he gave me was for my aim. I had a 75% out of 100, which is absurd because I feel like my aim is complete shit. But for my mechanics, I had a 55%, which is valid. My builds, a 40%, which is okay. My edits, a 60%, which makes sense. And awareness, a 40, which is honestly one of my weakest points in my whole entire game. And fighting at 50%. So I think he gave a fair rating on everything else, although I do believe I should have a lower rating on my aim. But I am an overall 53% so far, so I am passing, but I want to do better for next week. And to finish off the day, I played Zero Build Reload Rank, which I will just start clipping all the highlights right now so I can save everybody time. And that is it for my 7-day progression on keyboard and mouse. I will be continuing this for next week on week 2, where I will be posting again. Honestly, I am not really happy, but kind of happy with how I did this week. Honestly, I did progress a lot, and I improved a lot each and every day. There's always something I could do to improve, obviously, but I am very satisfied with what I did. I found my perfect keybinds now, and I'm ready to be better than I ever was on week 2. I will be posting week 2, so stay tuned for that. It was honestly pretty fun doing this challenge, and I am excited to continue next week, and I will be ready to record every single day, obviously. That is it, guys. I am out. Just remember, Jesus loves you.